Hello and welcome. So I'm going to show you how to do some basic pattern making. And what this means is we're going to use the tools from our bag, minus this ruler, to start making the patterns to create our nichos. Now, what's really cool is we're only going to be using this part of the box. Now, this part is a little bit bigger, but it's not as sturdy because of our cutouts. So if you mess up and need to use another one, you can always switch to this one. But the more sturdy option would be the bottom of our DMC thread box. So to make a basic pattern, and this would be a pattern that essentially goes all the way around your recessed area in one piece. And to do that is actually incredibly simple. You want to think about how your piece is situated. So if you have stuff on the top, the bottom, and the side, you might want to put it perfectly center in your paper. If you have more stuff at the top than the bottom, you might want to move it down a little bit. And of course, you can always trim the paper. So if you're going to make one solid piece that goes around your recess, you can place your box where it's going to go and then go right around each side of the box, chasing all four sides. And that's going to tell you how big your cutout should be and where we can enter those flaps. Next thing you want to do is you want to decide what you want your outside to look like. And I'm just going to do a pretty simple one. I have a ruler, so I'm probably going to use it for my sides so that they're all quite even. But you can cut your own piece of paper to the size that you want, or you can use a ruler too. If you don't have a ruler, I just use a straight edge, which would be like the side of a notebook or a folder. So it's okay if you don't have that. Going all the way around the top, and look at now I have a nice even border all the way around, depending the shape of your top. Ooh, let's figure out where I want to go. So I'll just do one of the traditional shapes. If you want it to be perfect, you can find a bowl or a plate so that your sides are even. Now, we have the outside. So essentially, if I put my box right here, we know what this would look like around that recess. But we're going to need to be able to attach our big piece to the inside of our box. And to do that, we're going to need some flaps. Now, the easiest way to mark it is I go from corner to corner, make my little line, corner to corner. And this is going to tell us where to cut when we actually cut out the inside. And now we know where we're going to cut so they actually come together. Now we need to know how deep our flap can be. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to line up my box with my line, and then I can make line on the inside. So that's the depth or how deep my actual box is. And I want to do this all the way around so that I know where it lines up all the way around. We can always trim them if they end up being too big, so we have some of that fluctuation. And we can erase our extra lines. Now, don't worry about cutting them out. We're going to do that on the last day and assemble. So this would give you one big piece with our nichos in the center, our recessed area. Now, if you want to do something with flaps, so shutters that open, what we can do is design what that shutter would look like. So essentially, we're going to use our box as our stencil again. And I'm going to just trace not only the side of the box, but both sides of the box and the bottom. And this is going to give me that idea of the size of my flap. Now you can decide what you want your essentially shutter to look like. You could go fun and actually make it a wing, depending your design. If you want it just to be a normal shutter, you want to give it just a little bit of an angle. So I'm going to mark it in on each side, line up with that mark, and actually pull that to the side. So it will actually stick out, line it up, and then I'll find where I want that to actually connect depending on how big I want that shutter to be. So that means when I would line up my box here, that would be what that shutter coming off looks like. Now, if you see my pieces are a little bit more complicated because I wanted to make sure that I made a very fun Nichos. So to get started, this is what my thumbnail looks like, or my sketchbook research page. So I have a dome at the top. I have 2 flaps that open. I'm going with this side. I'm going to cut out another piece, which would be the flower, to go on top. And the bottom, I'm going to do more like this type of honeycomb. So I want it to go from water to honey behind those shutters. So to get started, I had to start with my major outdoor, or big piece. So this is what mine looks like, and I'm going to be, again, really extra. So this is my cutout. That's what I'm actually going to cut out, and where I can cut to fold it to fit into that recessed box, which will be right there. I'm then going to cut out the shape at my top, and some of these honeycomb are going to be hollow, while some of them is going to have a piece in the back. To do that, I had to put an X on the ones that I'm going to fully cut out and create a back piece. So this will be the piece that's behind it with a detail cut out on top. So you can actually see I'm going to paint this one whole solid color. I'm going to collage some of the water, and this is one whole solid color. So that when this piece is cut out, boom, it goes right on top. Now yours does not have to be this complicated. You get to decide how complicated you want to make your nichos. I also made some flaps. So I'm going to have the doors coming out on each side, which will cover up a good bit of my honeycomb, and that's okay with me. But I also needed some more symbols. So I wanted to have my lilies, so I drew a lily for both sides of my flap. I have some bees here that I'm going to collage too to go on top of that honeycomb and the sun. So I have my 3 symbols, my color scheme, and of course a spot to put my portrait once I get to that spot, which will be right in the center. I look forward to seeing your patterns. The goal today is just to start making our patterns. Then we'll have 4 days of construction on our box. And that would be to do 1 piece a day. So that would be 1 piece, 2 piece, 3 piece, and 4 piece. So that hopefully at the end, it looks something like this. All right, message me if you have any questions on how to make your patterns. But remember, to do it successfully, you must use your box. Can't wait to see what you make.